Hey guys, and welcome back for another short flow. Today's session is a mobility challenge. We're going to work our way through some warm-up techniques and then challenge yourself with squat to wheel pose. So it's a mobility movement. You're going to go from the dynamic squat pose all the way through to wheel, come back around the other side and then go back around the other way if you can. So it's a little fun thing for you to play with. Give it a go. See how far you get, keep coming back to this video, keep practicing. You might not get it in the first go, that's perfectly fine and perfectly expected. So give it a go, keep practicing, keep trying, keep working at it and you will get there eventually. So whenever you're ready, join me at the front of your mat in Tadasana. So squat to wheel is a very kind of open pose for your shoulders and your hips. So we're going to work through some warm-up poses to get those nice and open, nice and loose, but also strong as well in the right places. So whenever you're ready, find your Tadasana position and just heel-toe your feet out to the edges of your mat to find your squat stance. From here, we're going to take a nice deep breath in, reaching up high, palms together above the head, and then as we come down, draw the hands down the center line of the body and come into your squat position. If you're finding this position particularly hard to get down to, think about maybe keeping your heels lifted off the floor or resting them on top of a block, just like this one, underneath your heels so you can place the block in the middle, bring your heels down and come. The most important thing here is to have a nice lifted upright chest. So make sure you're not hunched over like this, make sure your chest is nice and high and go down to wherever you can go before that kind of rounding starts to happen. Once you're there, use your elbows against your inner knees and press them apart as you pull the chest through to accentuate that nice upright position. You use the palms of your hands, pressing them in together to find that, and then when you're ready, we're just going to take 5 or so small pulses in this position just to open up the hips, limber up the joint. And then you're going to take the left hand to the floor, inhale to lift and twist as you open out to the right, exhale, release, switch over the hands, inhale to lift and twist and open out to the left, exhale, release, place both hands to the floor. From here, you're just going to step back and come into a kneeling position on all fours. So hands under shoulders, knees under hips, and we're just going to do 5 cat-cows. So we're going to inhale as we dip the stomach towards the floor, look up towards the ceiling, squeeze those shoulder blades together, really accentuate that spinal curve. And then exhale as you round through the spine, pressing the ground away, pulling the shoulder blades apart, looking down towards the knees, sucking the navel back up in towards the stomach, in towards the spine. Inhale to lift. Exhale to round. And as you transition, think about moving vertebrae by vertebrae, finding that nice flowing movement, really accentuating each end of the posture. There's no need to rush for this one. In fact, the more slow and controlled you can transition, the better it will be. So we've just got 2 more to go in each direction. And then from here, just come back to a neutral position. Take your hands now slightly further forwards, tuck the toes and press up into your down facing dog position. We're going to come into what's commonly known in CrossFit as a Spider-Man movement. So you're going to take the right foot outside of the right hand for lizard lunge. Option to drop the back knee if you want to, and then inhale to lift and twist into a twisted lizard lunge, reaching up high, opening up those shoulders as well as the hip. Exhale, release that hand to the floor, step back to down facing dog, and then left foot comes forwards to repeat on the other side. Option to drop that knee to the floor if you want to. Inhale to lift and twist. Exhale, release. We're going to do 4 more of those on each side, moving with your own breath, in your own time, opening up those hips and shoulders. One more each side. And then just come back to that down facing dog position from here. And then just come back to that down facing dog position. From here we're going to inhale as we roll forwards into a body flow, dropping the hips towards the floor, looking up towards the ceiling into cobra. Thinking about pulling those shoulders back and down, squeezing the inner thighs, pointing the toes so you're active through the legs, and squeezing the glutes to support that lower back. And then as you exhale, tuck the toes and press all the way back to your down facing dog. We're going to do 4 more of those. So inhale to roll forward, see if you can really planche through the arms, meet the hips at the wrists first. Look up, and then exhale to push back. Last one. And then from here, you're just going to come down onto your hands and knees and then sit back in extended child's pose. Catch your breath for 3 or so breaths. And in a moment, we're going to work our way into puppy pose to work into that thoracic spine, opening up the shoulders and the chest and building the strength in the upper back that we're going to need for that wheel pose. So take one last deep breath all the way in. Exhale. And then start to creep your hands further forwards. As you creep your hands further forward, see if you can bring your chin to the floor and look forward towards the front of the mat. If this is enough for you, then stay here and just take 5 deep breaths, breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. If this is easy enough for you to get to, then see if you can take yourself a little bit further and bring that chest all the way through to the floor, opening up your thoracic spine. Keeping your hips stacked above your knees, don't go too far forwards. Use the end of the mat to push back into that spinal bend and just hold here for 5 deep breaths. With every exhale, see if you can let your chest melt deeper into the ground below. One last deep breath all the way in. And then slowly come on up onto your hands and knees. From here, we're going to take a low lunge. So step the left foot through, plant it between the hands. Think about keeping that knee on the floor, but also think about your steady stance. So the wider your stance is, the steadier you're going to be. Think about that knee being above the ankle, not in front. You can have it slightly behind if you need to. And whenever you're ready, we're going to inhale as we lift the hands up above the head, coming into that nice raised low lunge variation with the arms up. We're then going to drop that right hand back towards the right heel and reach over into a half camel, lifting up through the chest, reach high with the left hand, and think about bending in the upper spine first before you take the bend in the lower back, and then sink that hip down, opening up the hips, shooting forwards into that front leg and reaching back with that hand into a full half camel. Take a nice deep breath in. Exhale. One more deep breath all the way in. Exhale. And then this time as you inhale, come all the way up, windmilling the arms up and over. You're going to take that right hand to the floor, keeping that left hand lifted. We're going to reach up towards the ceiling and take a nice low lunge twist. Take a nice deep breath all the way in. Exhale. One more deep breath all the way in. And as you exhale, release that hand, frame the foot and step back to down facing dog and switch sides. So right foot comes through, left knee goes down, finding that low lunge position with the stance that you need to lift your hands off the floor. Inhale to lift and reach into that low lunge, reach or crescent lunge, some might call it. And then when you're ready, take that left hand back all the way to the heel as you exhale, reaching up high with that right hand towards the ceiling, and then exhaling to reach back, sending the hips forwards, shooting the weight further into that front leg. Come into your full camel pose. Take a nice deep breath in. One more deep breath all the way in. Exhale. And then inhale to come all the way up, windmilling the arms up and over. Left hand comes down to the ground, right hand lifts and reaches as you twist into that low lunge twist on the right side this time. Take a nice deep breath all the way in. Exhale. Last deep breath all the way in. Exhale, release that hand and step back to your down facing dog position. Pedal it out. And then just come down onto your hands and knees and sit back in extended child's pose for a few deep breaths. So your body should be nice and warmed up now. Your hips should be a little bit more open, your shoulders and chest should be a bit more open, and your back should be feeling engaged with the muscles that it's going to need to get into that wheel pose. So first off, let's start with the wheel pose. We did squat at the beginning of the warm-up. We're going to work on our wheel pose just on its own for now, so you know the position and the alignment to get into. So come onto your seated position, legs out in front, and then come all the way down into your backs. So option one for wheel is to come into a simple bridge pose. So we're going to send our hips up towards the ceiling and then just reach underneath for our ankles as we reach up, finding that bend in our lower back in this position. Our neck should be not crunched up at all. You should be able to breathe and talk normally. Hold for 3, 2, 1, and then exhale, release. From here, you can take it a step further and come onto the crown of your head before you lift your head away from the floor. So hands go either side of your head, fingers go down towards your shoulders and palms are flat on the floor, elbows towards the ceiling. You're then going to push up like you did in that bridge to lift your hips off the floor, and then up again to place your head on the floor. Option to stay here until you feel comfortable in this position, or option to push and continue into that wheel posture. So just hang out here for a couple of breaths. You can start to move your feet in if you want to get a deeper back bend. Two more deep breaths all the way in. And then slowly lower yourself the same way as you came into the pose, all the way back down, and just hug your knees in towards your chest. So as you can feel, that's quite a deep back bend, so if that's too much for you, just go halfway, like we did with the half camel. You could do a half wheel from this squat position, so you're just rotating around and reaching. I'll tell you where that point is. If you feel comfortable and you want to go all the way, find that position, make sure you're steady there before you continue back around the other way. I'm going to demonstrate to you the movement, and then it's up to you whether you want to pause the video and continue to play, or whether you want to go straight into the cool down movement that I've got planned for after this. So we're going to come into that squat or garland pose position. So remember, taking your feet out hip width, out from your hips. So squat stance, bring the hands to the heart, come down all the way into that garland pose position. Set yourself up, make sure that you are holding these poses correctly before you transition into the next one. So think about your alignment, tailbone to the floor, crown of the head towards the ceiling, chest nice and open, no rounded spine, lift that chest through. When you're ready, you're going to take one hand back behind you and turn your fingers in towards the centre of the mat, centre line, and then you're going to lift and reach as you thrust your hips up, all the way up and over into wheel pose. Find that wheel pose position, hold it for a moment or two, and then come all the way back round, the same way that you went round but in reverse, back into your wheel pose, into your squat pose. You can then try going the other direction, so same thing but just different way, all the way up and over, and then working your way back to that squat position. So if you just want to go to the halfway point, you're just going to place one hand down, lift and reach to as far as you're comfortable, and then come all the way back, meet back in a squat or garland pose, and then come back the other way, lift and reach, and then come back into your squat position. So wherever you're at, have a play with those movements, see where you get to. If you need any tips, feel free to message at Floatality UK, and I'll help you along your journey. And then once you're done with that play, just make sure that you cool down your back. So option 1, you can just take a simple seated forward fold to round your back in the opposite direction. So it's all about balance with yoga. We're doing one thing one way and closing up the other way. So legs together, feet are flexed, and you're just bringing your chest over your thighs, crown of the head towards the toes, and just take a few deep breaths as you limber yourself down into that seated forward fold. And then when you're ready, just come all the way down onto your back again, bringing the knees in towards your chest, maybe hugging them in tight and rocking from side to side just for a moment or two. And then bring your toes to the floor, keep your heels lifted, take your hands out to the side, T-shaped position, palms facing down, and just drop your knees from side to side, releasing off any tension that you've just created in your lower spine. And it's also quite a nice massage on the hips and the glutes as well. It's never a bad one to do this. Couple more each side. And then just gently bring your knees in towards your chest, hug them with both arms, rock from side to side once more. And then whenever you're ready, just slowly make your way all the way up to seated. And as normal, we will finish with our usual deep inhale as we lift our hands up above our head, palms together. As we exhale to the forehead, kind thoughts, to the lips, kind words, to the heart, kind feelings. Namaste. Thank you guys for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed that session.